Happy ToesDay! It is the very first ToesDay of 2021. How crazy exciting is that? So all through the month of January, we're going to be talking about faith and trust, and specifically how that shows up in the toes and how to overcome some of the obstacles involved with faith and trust. So when we're talking about faith and trust, we're talking about, let's say, doubt is the biggest word that comes to mind. People who have challenges trusting would be another challenging situation that would come up in the toes. And the other thing about that is I don't know if I already said this, I can't remember. The faith and trust always shows up in the left foot, on the baby toe of the left foot, specifically for right-handed people. Now, if you're a left-handed person, it has the potential to show up on the opposite side. And so the way that it works in our brain is our right side of our brain controls the left side of our body. So the right side is the exciting, artistic, creative brain, and that controls the left side of our body as far as how things show up. The left side of our brain is our logic side, and that shows up on our right side. So that's the only caveat to how it shows up. Most people, 90% of people or more, are, true right-handed people. And so it will show up very specifically. Right side is yang side, left side is yin side. And on the right side, it will show up as prosperity and abundance on your baby toe, and on your left side it will show up as faith and trust on your baby toe. The only time that's different is when you're a true left-handed person, and by true left-handed I mean you catch a ball with your left hand, you pitch a golf club with your left side, you swing a bat with your left hand, right? So you have to be a true left-handed person. Ambidextrous people are almost always going to be very similar to right-handed people. So they're going to show up where the yang side is the right side, the yin side is the left side. Okay, have I ever mentioned about the yin and yang, where yang is the more masculine energy and the yin is the more feminine energy? We all have both energies. We all encompass both masculine and feminine, and hopefully we're all living from that sacred feminine and masculine sides of ourselves. And if that's the case, we all get along and everything is hunky-dory, right? It's only when we sink to the lower levels of that energy that it doesn't really work out very well for us. And if you're just joining, please make a comment or send an emoji so that it will show me who you are. Awesome. Okay, so talking more about faith and trust. Faith and trust. Hello, honey. Thank you for being here. Faith and trust shows up on our left foot. Okay, so that is the baby toe on the left foot. When we're in situations where we doubt a lot, that toe will look a lot more like this toe. It will be hidden and pointing down toward the floor. So it will have, kind of that hook to it where it points down toward the floor. That has a tendency to be the sign and symbol of somebody who's struggling to remain positive, struggling to see the light. Maybe they're in a little bit of a depression. Maybe they're struggling with anxiety. almost always that left toe will be hooked toward the ground. Now, if it's a more extreme scenario where there's truly chemical imbalance as opposed to environmental challenges that are going on, it will be on both baby toes, and really it will be on almost all of the toes, where it's kind of where they're I kind of picture them as almost grabbing onto the earth for dear life, like it's really scary to be here, right? So those will show up in the faith and trust toes and the prosperity and abundance toes. So when we work on that, what we work on is how to get to the heart space around what's going on with why that faith and trust toe isn't working so well, and why the prosperity and abundance toe isn't working so well. So we look at where that started, where the trigger points are of what brings up hot points. So it's interesting because a lot of people ask about shoes when it comes to any of the toes, but specifically the baby toes kind of get the raw end of the deal, right? When it comes to shoes that don't fit quite right, they get rubbed, they get raw, they sometimes get blisters, they sometimes have, callousing that happens on those toes. And when we're wearing shoes that don't fit our feet quite right, they're the ones that kind of get shoved and scrunched. Scrunched is the word coming to mind. So silly. But so what happens with that is we literally are scrunching ourselves. We literally are shutting down that system within ourselves that would naturally have an affinity to trust and have faith and know that everything is going to be okay and know that everything's going to work out just fine. So it really is, or it can be, really as simple as changing your shoes. If you're wearing a shoe that rubs and rubs and rubs and causes you pain, where in your life are you having pain as it relates to whatever toe it is that is being pained, right? So a lot of times it's that left baby toe where it's being rubbed raw, right? So it's the faith and trust. So where in your life are you experiencing a lack of faith and trust, or where it's coming across as something that is a challenge instead of something that comes across really, really easily and lightly and completely heart-centric, right? If it doesn't look like complete and utter joy, it's probably a challenge. It's probably coming up as something that has a challenge. So physically touching your left baby toe and literally giving it love and praise and comfort and attention, if you will. I kind of treat my toes like kids. So if my toes are hurting or whiny or inflamed or any kind of negative emotion that's associated with any of the things that happen to my toes, I do hold them in my hands and coddle them and rub some oils and lotions on them and just remind them that we're completely safe, everything is fine, everything's going to be okay, kind of what you would tell your small child if they were struggling with whatever it is that they're struggling with. So I know it can sound really odd to treat your toes as gently as that, but truly it can shift the energy around whatever it is that's troubling you. So, for example, when it comes to the COVID virus, right? Everybody gets really afraid, and there's so much being reported on the news that is scary, and the statistics come back as really fear-based, okay? I heard a friend this weekend say something that I think is really important, and that is, I'm immune to COVID. She just flat out said that. And I know for a fact that she believes it with her whole being. And so it's true. Does that make sense? So like, because not only she believes it, but she has this bubble of immunity, and she just knows, like she knows that she is alive, like she knows that she's a girl, like she knows that things are good in her world. She knows for a fact that she is immune to COVID. And she is, because her belief system is completely in place. And so it works out incredibly well for her. But I loved the way that that came across, and I loved the way that she put it in such matter-of-fact terms, because I think that when it comes to faith and trust, and therefore prosperity and abundance, because you can't have prosperity and abundance without having faith and trust. You might gain some momentum in that area, but it won't remain. You can't hold prosperity and abundance without having faith and trust that you can hold prosperity and abundance, right? That makes sense, right? So when it comes to our belief systems and how that shows up in our feet, on the baby toes, specifically around faith and trust, which is the left side, we're talking about being in a state of complete knowing. So if you're not in a state of complete knowing, where can that shift and how can it shift? Physically touching your toes and physically handling and coddling and giving a little bit of extra pampering to your baby toes can make all the difference in the world. What happens when you do that is it shifts the skin, it shifts the energy around the muscles and how they hold the toe, it shifts the nerve endings in how they're reacting to the way that the muscles are holding the toe, and that shifts the skeleton, and that shifts everything else that has to do with what's happening on your feet, right? So when you're wearing shoes that don't serve that purpose, the purpose of holding your feet safe and unharmed. I mean, that's the purpose of shoes, is it not? Isn't that true? I think it's pretty true. It is for me anyway. If my shoes don't hold my feet safe from harm, then they're not serving their purpose. If I put on a pair of shoes, or let's say I fall in love with the look of a pair of shoes in the store, and I try them on, and in the store they fit just fine, and I'm completely enamored of them, and then I get them home and I actually wear them, and they cause my feet pain or suffering in any way, shape, or form, I don't ever wear the shoes again, because my feet are that important to me. It's not a mistake that our feet are referred to as our soul, right? Hi, Tyler. Thanks for being here. So glad you're here. If you have any questions, let me know. I was just talking about how faith and trust shows up on our left baby toe, and what to do when it comes to struggling with faith and trust. If faith and trust is something that let's say you know a friend of the family who struggles with faith and trust in their life, truly one of the best things that they can do is hold that left baby toe and put some lotion on it, and maybe some oils, and maybe, soak the foot. And what that does is it loosens everything. It loosens the tightness of being in that state of fear around faith and trust. And guess what happens? When we have faith and trust, we're open. We're open to receiving things. We're open to receive good things, right? I don't start my day without saying I'm open and willing to receive all that is good. It feels amazing when you start your day with that attitude, because even when something doesn't quite fit, or doesn't quite go according to plan, or doesn't quite feel good and joyful, it's amazing the attitude that you have about it, versus when you wake up and start your day with, I have a sore throat, or I have a headache, or my jaw hurts, or whatever else, that the kind of negative thoughts that can very easily infiltrate our our expectations of our day. So when we go into our day with an attitude of expectation around receiving all that is good, the little things that might take us off the path of goodness, they don't matter nearly as much, because positive energy is far more powerful than negative energy. I think that's probably why negative people are so attracted to positive people, because I'm looking for my water because I'm starting to get a tickle. It must be a meaningful subject to me. But it's negative people have a tendency to be attracted to positive people, and vice versa, because they feed off each other. A positive person wouldn't, like, to me anyway, in my belief system, in my world, we wouldn't be human if everything about our lives was perfect, if everything was exactly ideal and how everything looked and felt, and why bother being human, right? So when we interact with people who are opposite of us, or who, those of us who feel like we're super positive people, when we interact with people who might feel a little bit heavier energetically, and I don't know if you guys feel this way too, and I love my family more than anything in the world, but being around my family can feel heavy on occasion, right? We don't always get along exactly according to plan. The ideal scenario of what that looks like in my head, it doesn't always go according to that plan, right? So in order to remain in that state of positivity around having the faith and trust that everything is going to be positive, having the expectation that even when there's struggle, that we can overcome it, right? Tyler, I see that you let me read this. What if the little toad doesn't have a pinky nail? Oh, okay. Or has a small pinky nail. It does affect, so the nails in toe reading, the nails represent the vision, if you will, okay? Think of a car or a ship or a boat, right? The window that we see out of is what that toenail represents. So if it's small, I would welcome somebody to just sit with this idea. Sit with the idea that the blinders might be on. Okay, so if the toenail is really small, what are you not willing to see when it comes to faith and trust? Where is your vision being blocked? Where is it small? I mean, literally small. Where can you expand it? Okay, so focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want, here's how to shift it, is rather than just recognizing that there might be some blinders up, that there might be things that you don't want to acknowledge, that there might be things, and I'm not saying it's you, Tyler, I'm saying, whoever it is that has the small toenails, they're gonna have a little bit more of a closed idea about what it looks like for faith and trust in their lives, right? So where can we expand that vision? Where can we see a bigger, broader, maybe potentially more positive outlook on how that shows up in our world? Okay, so I'm trying to think of an example of how to share this. So if we're looking at, I don't know why this is coming up, I'll just trust that there's a reason it's coming up, okay? Faith in a relationship situation. Okay, so when we're in doubt or we have fears around faithfulness of our partner, or even ourselves, maybe even, sometimes it will close off our vision of all the things that are in place that prove to us that there is plenty of faith, that there is reason to trust, that there is more than enough commitment involved in allowing the freedoms that we associate with somebody that we completely trust, right? when we're in that state of concern or panic or worry over what might be or what could potentially be, it closes us down to seeing all of the examples that are right in front of our noses around around what's already being proven to us as being faithful, as being worthy, as being trusting. The other thing is when we have that smaller vision of what the faith and trust looks like, and I'm just using faith and trust because that's our theme for the month. So this absolutely applies to all the other toes and all the other meanings within all the other toes. So if we have small nails across the board, I'm wondering where we're showing up a little bit smaller than we might. Oh, hi, Susie. Thank you for being here. So glad you caught the live. Woohoo. Okay. So when we're looking at the vision of what the faith and trust looks like, and when we're talking about small toenails right now, Susie. So when we have small toenails, we might have a smaller windshield from which to view our life or our expectations around whatever it is that's showing up. So in this particular case, because our theme this month is faith and trust, we're talking about small left baby toenails. Okay, so where can we have a wider vision around what faith and trust looks like in our lives? The other thing is to physically handle the baby toe and the baby toenail, and to, maybe ease back the cuticle a little bit, or hold the baby toe and just tell it that you're safe. You are safe to be in a space of trust. You're safe to be in a space of faith. You're safe to be faithful and trustworthy. And you're safe to allow other people to have that expectation from you, right? It's a delicate subject, faith and trust, because what I was saying earlier is without faith and trust, we can't ever hold prosperity and abundance. We have to have the faith and trust that it's without a doubt going to provide us everything that we need in order to not just survive, but thrive. And so where in the vision of what faith and trust looks like, where are you keeping things out? Where are you blocking things off? Where are you, kind of living in your own little circle of influence? And when we do that, it's funny how we block out not just scary scenarios where we might be struggling with faith and trust, but we're also blocking out opportunities to advance and to grow and to see a bigger picture and to experience a wider range of what looks like prosperity and abundance and or faith and trust, right? What are we blocking out when we're trying to keep ourselves safe? It's so interesting. Love that kind of stuff. But yeah, physically touching your toes, physically feeling how that shows up is helping your toenail bed. So I explained it a little bit earlier. I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place. So when we're in a space of having small toenails, the way to fix that is to, yes, you're absolutely, yay, cool. Thank you, Tyler. Would love it. I would love to have your coworker join. And it's a valid question. The small nails are huge to being open to and willing to receive all that is good, right? I was telling Tyler earlier, Susie, that's how I start my days, is by saying and physically gesturing, I am open and willing to receive all that is good. And sometimes I don't believe that, but it works anyway, because that powerful, strong, positive message is way, way stronger energetically than anything that happens to us negatively, okay? The negativity, like if we're surrounded by people, like let's say I once worked in an environment where I was surrounded by really, really negative people, and people that were just, they chipped away at everybody around them. It was a struggle to work there. And I would start my day with, I am open and willing to receive all that is good. And as they nipped and picked and whatever at every little bit of that powerful energy, I realized at one point it took so much more effort and energy for them to be negative than for me to be in a positive position around it. Does that make sense? It didn't feel like it at the time. It felt like I was just getting picked on and, the woe is me syndrome can very easily set in when it comes to that. But when I sat with it and when I really started doing some internal work around why is this showing up in my experience? Why are these people even part of my world? And where am I allowing that to be my experience? That's when it dawned on me that I have the power to control that energy. I don't have the power to control what they do or how they do it. I have the power to take back the positive effort and energy. Hey, Carmen, thank you for being here. So glad you're joining us. That positive energy is 1,000 times more powerful. And you can look up study after study after study of how it shows up in the world. That's why affirmations were, they were the thing to do in the 60s, 70s, and well into the 80s. Positive affirmations. That was the way to get over illness. That was the way to it still is, to be honest with you. It helps immensely in being able to visualize and experience something that is overwhelming to our bodies, because we're in that state of panic. It's very, very easy for us to go down that dark rabbit hole of concern and fear and so easy to do that. I was saying earlier that I have a girlfriend who I came across this weekend who said, I'm immune to COVID. And I was like, what a brilliant stance around all of it. I am immune to COVID. It doesn't even touch my energy field. It doesn't even come near me. When you embody a belief that's that powerful and that's that strong, it can't come anywhere near you. Nothing can. So when you're in a state of joy and you're in a state of faith and trust and you're in a state of happiness around something, it takes a lot of effort and energy from the dark side, if that's the way we want to look at it. It takes a lot of dark energy to pull that down, because it takes thousands of times more of the negative energy to pull that one positive thought down. So when you feel that chipping away at your positive energy happening, I definitely welcome you guys to all just take a moment and take a nice deep breath. And yes, God is definitely bigger than COVID, no doubt about it, no doubt about it. But truly, that's a powerful statement. I'm immune. I'm good. It's not touching me. Totally embodying that, oh my gosh, it's crazy powerful. I can think of the people in my world, the people who COVID has touched, every last one of them has said, oh, I'm gonna get COVID, or I'm too afraid of COVID, or I don't want to have COVID. All of that's just attracting it to you. All of that's just bringing that energy to you. You can't keep it away by saying I'm afraid of it. If you stand firmly in this literally it is faith that you are immune. We're such powerful beings, you guys. We're so powerful. I hope that the whole world grasps the concept of how amazingly powerful we are when it comes to how we handle our health and wellness and our bodies and what we do in the world. So anyway, faith and trust, baby toe. It's all about coddling and making sure that your faith and trust toe knows that you care about it. That's what I do. I love you, little baby toe. And I love you guys for being here. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to next Tuesday. If you are around this week, I am being interviewed twice this week on various and assorted programs. One of them is here on Facebook Live. I'm also teaching a class on finding your purpose through Learn It Live. So if you can make it, I would love to see you there. Tiny toes will get some love. Yes, please give your, well, you know, tiny toes are just, you're holding back. You're just holding back. We're going to work on that, girl. All right. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Talk to you later. Bye for now.